Evening, or welcome to more dust. Right, something very strange is happening when it comes to dust. It's rather fun. I'm joking, it's always been fun. The game is getting, well, it's always been very fun. We've had some really good games lately. I'm shotgunning, but it doesn't last long because I'm not very good with the shotgun. But I thought I'd bring you this little vignette. There you go, vignette. Because this seems to be kind of what I'm talking about when it comes to how fun the game can be. We came up against a very, very good force. Look at them all working together. Look at that. Isn't that desirable? Isn't that where you wish you'd just packed remote explosives? Shotgun is just awful with mouse and keyboard. The aim assist, in fact, let's just talk about that. The aim assist on things like the shotgun is remarkably powerful. I think because it just means you don't have to actually aim really that much. Getting a shotgun hit with a mouse is difficult because it doesn't. You could just be a few fractions off and yet you miss entirely. Whereas with the controller, in essence, you get that kind of extra kind of tug towards the target for now, and that gives you then the ability to just kill dudes easily. So shotgunning scouts are really annoying at the moment. I think if there was ever really anything wrong with this game, I would say there's just a proliferation of heavy suits and heavy machine guns. Nothing really wrong with them, I guess, but it's just a shame when everybody runs the same fit. It's so boring. It's really, really, really boring. So that's what I'm slightly worried about now, is certainly at relatively higher tiers, a lot of people are running heavies just exclusively. And this map, I think, will show you that, because a lot of people just run heavy continually, which gets a bit boring. And the other one is the shotgun scout phenomena. I think there's still work to be done there, but to be honest, these are mere trifles. And I think the game is incredibly enjoyable at the moment, particularly when you look at what we're doing here. This is actually old footage, quite old in fact. This is where I was just running again the plasma cannon and the flaylock. It's obviously working quite well. Lately I've been using a tank more. I saw a post on one of the videos basically saying, Pyrex, why you no tank no more? And I thought, yep, that's a good point. So I called in a tank. Now, let me explain why I stopped tanking. Because I used to love the Madruga and the Blaster. Now, I didn't generally go for infantry. So I just want to kind of stop you right there, buddy. Because you're thinking, oh, yeah, I bet. Yeah, Duna. Duna 2002, yeah? No, I generally didn't go for infantry. I always liked the tank v tank side of blasters because I think blasters were underrated. People thought they were actually quite rubbish. Obviously they are the inferior turret, but I don't know, there was something about them that just seemed to work for me. I always really quite enjoyed, particularly when Delboy and I worked together. His missile tank, my blaster tank just seemed to work. It just it worked nicely. We tried it with railguns in the same kind of configuration and it just didn't seem to have that same I guess killing effect. Anyway, so when they changed blasters, that was actually what made me stop tanking, because obviously the blaster became wildly more inaccurate, and I'm glad to see they've actually reduced that inaccuracy down a bit. So they kind of over nerfed it, then they drew it back slightly, which I've never actually tried until I called in a tank. And you'll see probably in 1, 2, 3, 4 videos time a match where the tank just wins the match for us, because it's just like a huge annoyance all the way through. I don't get high scores. I still find it very difficult to kill infantry with it, but I find it's a psychological tool more than anything. So stay tuned. We will show tanking footage in the next probably 3 videos time, because I think we really did go for a kind of tranche of just running tank again. So we've got a few tank montages lined up and so on. So it's all good stuff. But anyway, back to this video. This was, I think, a really great example of a match where, and this seems to be getting more to be the norm, because I think there are less casual players playing. You're finding that the matches are getting much more kind of competitive, a bit harder, and they're kind of giving you these opportunities like that you just saw, where you have the ability to kind of really show your skills. And that's a really good part of the game. I like that. I think, to be honest, first-person shooters are a weird thing anyway. They have an odd aura about them, because it really comes down to the type of mechanics. Is it a twitch shooter? Is it like Dust is more of a HP shooter? So you run around and there's a particular number you have to hit before you kill someone. You play Battlefield 4. That number's still there, but it's hidden. You don't necessarily, there's no health bar, for example. So it's an interesting kind of mixture of the two. And I think when Dust finally does disappear, and hopefully not anytime soon, I do mean that, I really do think that Dust will be missed as being one of the old class style shooters, which is a good thing because it's like Doom, it's like Quake, it's like Quake 3 and things like that. These were shooters that had a feel about them, and Dust has a feel about it, which is very similar to the original Unreal Tournament, the original Doom Deathmatch, and almost the original Half-Life 2 Deathmatch, which was very much more about the skill of the player, yes, but also the ability to fight, and the aggression is a key thing. It's not a twitch shooter like COD where you run around and use the machine gun, dead. It's more than that. I mean, look at this heavy here. He's pretty tanked, but again, I just know using certain tools, you know. But this is the beauty of this kind of game, and I think this is really why I will really be sad when Dust does eventually go, and I also hope it's what Legion taps into. Things like DayZ and things like Borderlands are pretty good shooters, and they have a real kind of style about them. But I think if Legion is going to be a proponent of those two genres, there probably needs to be something there that keeps that link to the original Dust. So Dust feels heavy. You know, you run around, you feel as if you are heavily clumping around with a heavy. With a scout, you feel light and agile, but you feel you still have presence. I think this would be my biggest fear, is that Battlefield 4 is a distended camera that floats around the field with a gun in its hand. It does feel like that. You don't necessarily, you know, you get in this game, I know it sounds crap, but this is a bit of RP, I guess. In this game, if you try and climb a hill, you can get stopped by the hill. The hill will be too steep and it will say, F you can't get up me. And you're like, oh, for God's sake. Whereas in most of the games, you can just immediately travel in any direction pretty much immediately, and it's unrealistic. I know Dust didn't mean to do that, but in a weird way it kind of drew that in. So I think games like Dust have that weight and that, I guess, the severity behind it because of the economy. So this has to be the two things, maybe more, that they focus on with Legion, because in Legion, the way that the best merc in Legion is not going to be who has the best KD, it's going to be who has the most money and who is the most feared. That's got to be better than, I mean, you think of Battlefield 4 and COD and all these other games, there's no economy, there's nothing, there's just your KD. And KD is a real douchey baggy kind of way, because KD is such an easily to manipulate number anyway. As you see with Dust, people really became, you know, concerned with their KD. So what they did is they started padding it using the test server, or rather the test server, the non-busy servers, let's say, to pad a KD to look more scary. It's pathetic, it really is what it is. The sadness of that whole piece is kind of offset by the fact that there was also a massive retaliation against that kind of level of douchebaggery. I mean, these were people who did concern themselves with the fifth slot of the Logi, if you know what I mean by that. It's just, yeah, there was so many kind of number nerds that were not particularly wise with their thinking. It was all a little bit like, well, I had somebody who just made me wince and cringe, who came into a gang of ours, and they were just saying, they were talking about their characters in this fashion. It was, oh yeah, I've got a sniper who's 27-1, and I've got a da-da-da-da-da who's a 70-1, and I just remember thinking, what's he on about? And I sort of sat there sipping my rather nice mojito, and I was just thinking, what is this bell end on about? And it was actually his KD for those characters. That was his KD, and that was how he judged how good he was, which was bizarre. I'm not very good at these games. I've never even attempt to try and claim I even am. But I tell you what, I know what I like, and I'm pretty good at what I like. And I think things like the explosives and things like that are fun. I've got no time for the auto aim kind of, high rate of fire, cheaty weapons like the combat rifle and all that. Don't even talk to me about scrambler rifle. I use it. I do use it because I guess I was curious to try it. Now I've tried it. It's an incredibly overpowered weapon, and it's a little bit easy, isn't it, fellas? It's a little bit easy. But what can you do? I mean, the amount of modded controllers being used with the combat rifle is almost getting to the point where it explains a huge amount of players and how relatively, quote, good they are at the game. And it's because, for those that don't know, when you use auto aim and when you use things like the combat rifle with a modded controller, it will fire in pulses of 3, perhaps, so like a burst. And what actually happens is each time, so 1, 2, 3 in that first burst, is engaging aim assist. So the controller is immediately dragging the cursor onto the target every time. So these players are effectively shit players who have just managed to manipulate the game Do I care about this? Not really. Do I really give a shit? Not really. To be honest, if that's what they want to do, fair enough. You can spot them because then they fire their animation jibs. So all of a sudden they're like, shoot, then a stand, shoot, stand, shoot, stand. You know what I mean? They're animation jibs. It's obvious they're doing it. And plus, most importantly, if you ever hear somebody firing with the ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba sound, the burst fire, I guess, of a combat rifle, then, and it's usually combat rifles, I'm afraid, then you just know that's what they're doing. And plus, if you see someone using a scrambler rifle and they're just shooting it like a CRD, where it goes and it just fires continually, another modded controller. It's sad. It's sad. But then again, you have to expect this from everything. There are so many modules and features and tools and peripherals that can trick the PS3 into thinking it's a mouse and keyboard when it's actually being a controller, and vice versa. That's pretty much what they're doing. But at the end of the day, does it matter? One more time, no, it doesn't, because this is just the periphery, the edges of the game. These are just the people who really have taken it too seriously and got a little bit over the top with it. But there we go, from somebody who says other people are over the top, from a man who does videos every day for that game. I bid you salut. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.